All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Field podcast. Find it all over Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and we've been trying to get our TikTok page up and going. We have a really cool interviewee on today, Adam Zebrowski. He's actually in the waiting room right now, so I'm going to let him join. We're really excited to have him on. He is actually with the Atlanta Braves. So let's get him in here and get him all acclimated.
There you go. Acclimated.
Yeah, you like that word?
Come on now. We use high caliber vocabulary here at LV.
Yeah, we read the dictionaries when we're not doing podcasts or getting our players deals. What's up, Adam?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good.
How are you?
What's up,
Just to
Zebo?
let you know, we are recording. We always have the interviewees join in so that everyone knows this is real and we're not telling you, what's coming. We just like to have fun, talk, get to know you as a person, as a player, help you get your stories out there. So we're really happy to have you on. Thanks for joining with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Cool. So Adam, we were just talking, and you were drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 13th round in the 2021 MLB draft out of St. Fisher College, which was really interesting to me. D3 school, right, up in New York.
Mhm.
Can you take us through a little bit of like what that was like? Because D3 school, probably not a lot of draft picks out of St. John or out of St. Fisher, or St. John's Fisher. My bad.
Yeah.
And it was probably not something that the program was used to having. So what was that like getting drafted out of there?
Yeah, it was definitely really different. Especially like after my sophomore year was the COVID year, and my freshman year I got hurt. So that was really like the first year I played full season. But yeah, it was really weird. I was the third guy for my school to get drafted. So it's definitely different, but it's been a really cool experience. Just like I think with it being a smaller school too, everybody kind of stays in support and follows along. So that's been nice. But I definitely, even going into that year, I didn't really think there was a high chance of getting drafted. Like I was looking for internships and trying to play in a summer league closer to home just for that reason. I always had aspirations of transferring, like for a fifth year, go play at a better school, but never really to get drafted and play professionally. I never really thought that was on the tables. But obviously, as the season went on, I started to see more scouts and kind of more pub come my way. And then I think I just started to embrace it a little more, have fun with it. But it was also very stressful at the same time, too.
Yeah, no, high level, when you're playing that well, it's like every at bat seems so important. Every game seems so important. I mean, not to jerk you off too publicly here, but batting 500 with 20 bombs, and an OPS of over 1.587, like that is going to get you drafted at most levels. You were balling out that year. What were you seeing, a beach ball up there? Like, what was it like? You were just stepping to the plate, feeling good every day?
Yeah, I mean, it was, not to sound too cocky, but you just went up with like the utmost confidence. I really never really felt like there was a guy that could get me out.
Yeah.
And I just, you just feel really comfortable, and that confidence obviously can carry over one at bat to the next. Just when you're feeling balls off the barrel, one at bat after the next, and you're finding holes, and it can go the flip too. Like when you feel like your swing is there, but you're just not finding holes, or you're swinging through balls. Like it can go the complete flip, and you have no confidence. But yeah, I mean, it was just like that confidence just kept building each and every game, just with, just
Yeah.
He hit two of the farthest balls I've ever seen off of our All-American and All-Conference pitcher. And those guys usually didn't struggle too much, but it was like every time Zebo got up to bat, it was like, oh, fuck, here we go.
Wait,
again.
Mark, you guys played against each other?
We played against each other in regionals at Marietta, Ohio. And I didn't know, like, that's like when we first talked about it, I didn't know that we were talking about the same person, but he said St. John Fisher. And I was like, I remember that ball went over the light post that one game that he hit. I was like, that definitely was him. But yeah, we played each other in Marietta.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, super
Yeah.
cool. So now that you've been drafted and you're in the Braves organization, what's like a day in the life right now for you, and kind of take the listeners through what the day-to-day minor league grind is like?
Yeah, so series are Tuesday through Sunday. And lately we've had education days, which aren't the best because it's a lot of like little kids screaming, and those are usually Wednesdays, 11 a.m. games. But for the most part, if it's like a 7 o'clock game, like a Tuesday, like tomorrow, I'll probably get over there around 12:30. And depending on if I'm playing, I'll lift. If I'm not playing, and then, catch a couple bullpens, maybe one. Do some cage routines, catching routines, which is just kind of like working with like a smaller ball and doing some hand work and some glove work. And then we'll work up in the machine with the glove and then BP, and then it's kind of hanging out for about an hour and a half, hitting the cage again a little bit with I don't know if you guys have ever seen the heater balls, but they kind of
No, what are those?
they're like little balls, squishy, and they almost overemphasize like guys with induced vert or like good sliders, good curveballs. Kind of makes everything look a little bit better. So when you get in the game, everything kind of slows down. So we'll use those and then basically play the game 7 to 9, do some recovery after, and then eat and head home.
What was that day that you were talking about, Zebo? The with the
Education.
kids? Yeah,
Yeah,
what
the
is that?
education.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
So they do them pretty much everywhere we go. They do them for the schools. It's for like the kids, it's almost like a field trip. So it's like an 11 a.m. game, and it's usually, I would say, probably close to 2,000, maybe 1,500 little kids just running around screaming, and it can get really loud. But I mean, they're nice because it's good for the kids to kind of be there and enjoy a day away from the classes and just watching some baseball.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's fun for them, but maybe for you guys, it's like a little bit much at Wednesday. A little bit earlier than you guys are used to.
Oh, definitely. It's like usually the earliest is 1 o'clock for a game, like a Sunday game, but 11 o'clock, it's kind of, you got to pull it together a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But this part in the season, how are the hips feeling?
Depends on the day, honestly. It's like if I'll go back to back, then it's kind of like today, even a little bit. They're shaking up, but I have a little yoga routine I'll go through, especially today. We do a team scramble golf, like a little tournament. So before I go over there, I'll just do a little 20-minute yoga session and then head over there. But I have a whole hip routine and stuff too, because obviously, like with the one knee down catching now too, it's a lot in the hips.
Yeah, you keep talking. You keep talking a little bit about routines. So can you kind of talk about the importance of routines to our younger listeners to find that routine that works for them? And because I feel like, for me, I play at the University of Tampa now. Mark, Nico, I've played, like, you find a routine and you see what starts to work, and then you try to build off that. So I've always been interested to hear other people's routines and kind of like how you started these routines that made you realize, oh, this helps me perform at my highest level.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, especially when I first came into pro ball, I was blind to a lot of it. But you realize when you're going there every single day, you have to you can't just like throw things at the wall until they stick. Like you kind of have to, I guess initially it is like that because you got to find things that you feel like help you, like especially in the cages. Like a lot of guys will do one-arm drills. I personally am not a big fan of one-arm drills. So it's like, I can't do those. Everybody's body moves differently. It's the same thing with even our receiving drills, like catching. Me and the other catcher, like we'll do different things just based on our strengths, our weaknesses. But I think routines are just so important because it's like, it gives you a structure. It gives you like especially when like you don't have that much confidence and you're struggling, it gives you something to fall back on to give you a little bit of confidence, like to trust your preparation, trust your routines, like you're just saying, and know that at some point throughout this year, like you're playing for 6 months every day. So at some point during this year, you were doing really well because of your routine. and because of your preparation. And I think that's what it comes down to too. It's like I was talking to one of my teammates yesterday, and he's struggling, and he was even asking kind of like what I'm thinking at the plate. And I even told him, like, I can't think about anything when I'm hitting, because other than yes, like just telling myself yes, 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 and aggressiveness. Because when I start thinking too much is when it's like I'm taking away from my preparation and my routines, and now I'm a tenth of a second too late, and I'm missing fastballs, I'm chasing sliders. Like that's kind of what starts to happen. So I think the routines are important, because that's your time to work, is in that routine. And then once you're in the game, you let all of that go and you just compete.
Trust your prep. I love that. It's something that, like, I've always said to people who, when the moment gets a little too big for them and they feel like they start thinking about other things, it's like, dude, just trust your preparation. You've practiced for 8 months up until this point. Like, trust your prep and go out and compete. So I think that's a really important message.
Zebo, were you not always a one leg down guy?
I wasn't until I got to college. Then I started doing it, but I had more of the one knee down that I'm doing now. Like the one knee down that we do with the Braves is different than the one I was doing. The one I was doing was more like relaxed, and you kind of sit back, so it's not as much on your hips, which is actually why I didn't really do a hip routine in college. I didn't really need one. But the way we do it now, with like really being up in the hips, and it feels like stronger and more athletic, is why it's like an important stretch, to work on the hips.
Definitely. Can you take us a little bit through your experiences at St. John Fisher, like playing surfaces? You're probably playing on some fields with barely even any stadium seatings, and now you're playing in front of thousands of people. Have you found that to be a big difference in performing, or do you like it better? Are you a guy, when the bright lights come on, that's something you've always really liked, or kind of, what is it like going from a D3 school to now playing at, almost the highest level of baseball that you can achieve?
It was a little bit of like a culture shock initially, like especially even too, just you're playing with some guys that don't speak. And I know it doesn't have to do with the playing surface and stuff, but even like speaking, like guys that don't speak English, like that's
definitely
a challenge. But it initially, like I think when I really noticed it, especially being a catcher, it's like when you block a ball, and now it's like second nature, but initially it was like I block a ball and you get ready to throw it back, but like every time you block a ball, you throw it out. And it's like little things like that when I went back to Fisher, and even seeing the field, like you said, like the playing field, obviously it's going to be drastically different going from D3 to pro ball, right? But like I think when I first went back there and like saw the field again after playing for a month and a half in pro ball, I was like, wow, like you almost wonder how you even played on a field like that. And I even watch some college games now, some more mid-major and lower D1s, where it's the same thing. Like the fields just don't look that great, but I think that's why some guys could have, some decent success in pro ball, is because you're playing on, lower quality fields, and then you get to pro ball, where not every field's perfect, but the people get paid, the grounds crew guys get paid for a reason.
Yeah. How have you felt the transition from metal bat to wood bat been?
I love it. Like I actually prefer wood bats. I know metal bats are easier to swing, but just like I don't think there's anything better than hearing and feeling like a full true barrel off a wood bat.
Yeah. As a pitcher, I don't think there's any better feeling than breaking a wood bat. It's just like one of the best feelings, like as a pitcher, like when you get in on someone's hands, or you throw a slider and they cap it off the end and their barrel goes flying. Mm-hmm. That's something as like a college pitcher, but also summer leagues, you throw against wood bats all the time. So as a pitcher, I love throwing against it. But when you let up a barrel and you hear the crack of that wood bat, and your neck snaps a little bit and you start watching that ball fly over the fence, it's like, all right, they beat me there, and that sounded pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Zebo, what has this year been like in terms of you've seen a lot of success this year, and what are those steps that you've taken to kind of get to this point? Because like, you know, you can kind of see that like you're really kind of getting back to like that like dominance back at like Fisher, which is I mean, like that's pretty hard to like achieve again. You were hitting like 500, but I mean, you're really tearing up your league right now. And like what's been like the biggest difference for you this year that maybe you see so far?
I think it's almost what I was just talking about earlier. It's like just trusting my preparation. I think last year I thought I tried too much to change something every at bat, and like just and a lot of it's like my mindset. Like this year I'm a lot more aggressive. Um like I think last year, and I'm just comparing it, last year to this year. I think last year was a lot of I was thinking about too much when I was trying to hit, and that's like that would roll over into me starting too late, and then obviously you start too late, you're already beat. So I think this year it was just like the only things I really tell myself is get up on time and yes, yes, yes. And that's really like been it. And I think my swing decisions have been good. My game planning has ticked up a little bit. We have a good hitting coach here who's really good with like the game planning aspect.
Yeah.
Do a good job as an org in terms of that, and just kind of preparing us for whatever the pitcher may throw. But yeah,
Are
I
you a
think
numbers guy or more of like a feel guy when you're getting ready to play?
I like to see the numbers. Like I really do. And I know obviously it's different. Like, say some guys throw fastballs 48% of the time, but you could go up and see 2 fastballs and a 6-pitch at bat. Like that's gonna happen. But I like to see kind of just get a feel for like what their pitch is. I think that's a good way to see it. Like whatever they're throwing the most fastball, and then non-fastball kind of gives you a good idea of what they like to throw as their out pitch and what's their strike pitch.
Yeah.
But
What do you look at like in terms of the numbers? Because like I've never had access to that at the levels of college that I played at. But like if it were me, I would be like, what's he start with, and then like what's he try to get you out with? Because
Yeah.
like if you try and take in like all of his pitches and like all their counts, then it's gonna be kind of like overload for you.
Mhm. There's like 2 sheets, and we get them on an iPad, and then we can watch video from behind of their pitches, which is nice. Like you can kind of get an idea of the shape, how it comes out of their hand, stuff like that. But the iPads are nice because it's like you don't have to take everything, but it shows everything from like their release point to different pitch shapes, and in zone, and kind of all sorts of different metrics. And some guys don't look at it at all. Some guys take a quick peek just to see like their in zone percentages, but it's also it's got all sorts of metrics on their fastball, like any pitch really, not just their fastballs. But they have all the metrics for anybody that like some guys like certain things more than others.
Right.
Like I was telling you guys, like I like seeing the pitch shapes and then obviously the percentages, but some other guys like all they want to see is the pitch shapes, all they want to see is the numbers. So and they have velos on there obviously too, but yeah, it's cool, but obviously like at the same time you can get very overwhelmed with it. And you can look at too much sometimes, and then by the time you're in the box, like we were just talking about, like then you're thinking too much. So
Yeah.
And do you also, as like or on the catching side, you guys don't call your own pitches, do you?
yeah, we do.
Oh, you do?
Oh, cool. So do
Yeah,
you do
that's
some scouting for hitters before you go into games, or with the pitching
Yeah,
coach and go over?
That's what so I have to do a scouting report for this week, probably right after recall, in between now and when we go golf. And we already played this team. We're playing Bowling Green, which is the Rays high A team, but we already played them second week of the season, but we got to redo it and update the information each time. But yeah, so we'll do it on our own. And then our video guy throws together one, and then our pitching coach throws together one, and we kind of just meet before every game and kind of talk about the plan with each hitter based on the lineup.
I like
That's
that so
really
much
cool.
better. That just puts so much like more trust and confidence into the catchers, I think. I mean, when you're when you're catching, and like maybe I don't know how they did at St. John Fisher, but here they do the wristbands, and like I remember there would be times where I would be catching and it'd be like, I don't know about that one. Like you just have a different type of feel, and it makes you like
Yeah.
feel a little bit better about yourself. Like, all right, they trust me that I'm gonna call this count, and lets you like have a little bit more fun with it too, I think.
Yeah. So
But then also, yeah, you give up a bomb and you're like, was that on me or on the pitcher not executing?
Your responsibility.
that's what but our pitching coach and coordinator and the whole staff here is good about understanding that, like, sometimes it's the right pitch, but it's just a mislocation. And like, I called my own games at Fisher too, so I think I learned a lot there. But I think too, that's a big thing, like how a lot of guys learn. Like in pro ball, I don't like everybody calls their own game. So you're gonna have to learn eventually. I think learning with the pitcher is the best way to do it. Plus, as a catcher, you're the one closest to it. You could see how a guy takes a pitch. Like if you're throwing three straight sliders and a guy's got a sinker, now he's over the plate, you can blow him up in with a sinker. So there's different things like that. And sometimes the coach may not see that, but so that's why
Do you
sometimes
feel, sorry to cut you off, do you feel like you're learning your pitchers' tendencies and their out pitches through bullpens, or is it through live sessions, or is it like, how are you learning what you feel like the pitcher should be throwing?
most of it is through like games and spring training and like the live BPs, kind of just getting a feel for like what pitch gets swing and misses, what pitch can they throw, can they execute more, and then obviously like which one of their pitches get barreled. And obviously like two pitch guys, it's harder because that day that their slider's not on, it's like, all right, well, we got to throw mostly fastballs and hope they chase the slider. So those guys are tougher, but that's primarily bullpen guys. So, it's not as much of a big deal because they're usually coming in for an inning, 2 innings,
Yeah.
But
Talking a little bit about the minor league system, like what is kind of the importance of winning versus the importance of development? Because you guys are there to develop and make it to the highest level of the major leagues. But like, what is the coaches, is no one talking on bus rides home after a loss? Like, is obviously everyone's competitors. You want to win every game you play in, but also you're there for the development and to keep moving up. So I know in summer ball leagues, we're there to try to get picked up, try to get seen. Is minor league ball a lot about winning too?
I believe it is like doubling up, and obviously I haven't been up there, but I know AAA for sure. It's like,
yeah,
by then you should be pretty much all the way developed, and you're just like kind of waiting for a spot to open up. But like they really want guys to win, and if you're not, if you're not there contributing to win, they'll get rid of you. But like I think still low A and high A, it's more focused on development than winning. And like you said, obviously everybody wants to win, but it's not like silence. Guys will talk on bus rides home. It's no music,
yeah,
but guys will still talk around the clubhouse and laugh because it's like I don't even know. I think we're 18 games in. Like there's still 100+ games left, and if every game you lose, you're going to be, like super negative. It's going to be a long year. But yeah, I believe double A and up is like kind of when it's like most of your development should be pretty settled. Obviously, you're still developing every day, but for the most part, it should be figured out. And now it's like the focus flips to winning.
Yeah, very cool. So we were talking a little bit about summer ball. I saw you went and played in the PGCBL. How were your experiences there? You have any funny stories? That's up in New York, so you never know what you're going to see up there in New York baseball. So any funny stories from summer ball or anything you got from going and playing in the PGCBL?
In terms of probably more PG stories,
you can keep it however you want. I mean, whatever stories you want, you feel comfortable sharing, or if not, we can keep going.
Let me come back to it. Let me come back.
Do you have a bus ride, like go to snack or like drink or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, this is every bus
Body
ride.
armor.
Body armor.
I gotta go light though. It's the regular body armor is too much sugar for me. So
I've been finding myself getting the Gatorade Zeros or the Body Lights. Like I just feel like you don't need all that sugar, and we like the taste of a little bit of sweet in our mouth.
Yeah,
being old, talking about sugar counts and Gatorades.
Yeah. So the whole draft process, did you have an agency helping you when you like how did you go about that? We're really interested in getting into the sports agency world. And it's something that, you know, we love to learn about. And I love hearing like the communication between MLB organizations and players pre-draft, post-draft. Like do you guys use GroupMe, WhatsApp? You know, kind of like take us through how you communicate with the Braves organization.
So with the org, we use an app. It's called Teamworks. But before we used GroupMe and WhatsApp, like those are the two that we use. A lot of Latin guys still use like WhatsApp. That's how you'll contact. But now with Teamworks, you can message anybody on there anyway. So it's a nice app. I think they pay a pretty decent amount for it from what I've heard, but it makes everything so much easier in terms of sending schedules out and any other, you know, medical information we need. But so going through the draft, I didn't have an agent. I signed with him after I signed with the Braves, but I think it would have helped a lot. Like that summer, like I was playing summer ball, training a lot, talking to colleges because I was in the transfer portal, and then I was also talking to scouts. So it was like a lot was going on, and then I was traveling for like they have like little pro days. A lot of the teams where you go to their big league stadium and you'll take BP, you know, depending on the one. But so I went to Orioles and Phillies, one of those. And I was traveling, seeing schools. So it was a lot. It was very hectic. I was on the phone all the time. So I think an agent definitely would have helped just to kind of mask a lot of it. But obviously at that time, I don't think you could have an agent at that time, right? Because
it's like an advisee or advisor, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so I didn't have one, so I was kind of just free balling.
What other colleges were you talking to while you were in the portal there?
I was talking to like the bigger ones were Maryland, Virginia, Baylor. Talked to Virginia Tech for a quick second. But the school I was gonna go to St. Mary's. It's out in Northern California.
In the same conference as Gonzaga.
Yep. Gonzaga, San Diego, Pepperdine. Yeah, all of them.
Very cool.
Zebo, before you met Parker, which is who your agent is now, was Kev from South Troy really helping you out with the whole like, draft process? Because I know that there's been a lot of pro guys coming out of his facility.
Yeah, he had a good idea too of kind of how everything worked, especially being friends with a lot of the scouts. So he was a great help for me. Kind of just I would guess I'd call him an advisor. Like he was kind of, you know, we sat down after being drafted. I sat down with my parents and him, and we just talked out and like planned out all of our options and what would be the best route to go. And at the end of the day, like it was my decision, but I think without, you know, my parents and Kev, it probably would have been a lot tougher.
Yeah, and then how did you meet Parker, and how did that relationship start to build? Because I mean, like I've been working with Parker now for like the past like 2 months probably, and he's a great dude, and he definitely chose a good guy. So I'm curious how you guys met.
Yeah, he just reached out on Instagram, and then we kind of just had a couple phone calls, Zoom calls, started discussing kind of what his plans would be. And everything sounded good to me. And you know, it kind of was very like just through social media, he reached out. And then the next off season I was out in LA, which is where they're based out of. And I just met up in that and met up with him again last off season. So it's kind of been a good relationship since.
Yeah, I mean, the industry has changed so much because of social media. You know, you can like you can pretty much get in contact with anyone at any point almost. And, you know, I wonder if it was more like you stuck to your region, you know, back before like social media was so popular. I mean, like I know you would know the answer to that question, but it's definitely pretty interesting to see, you know, how, you know, a guy in California can start, you know, building that relationship with someone like you who's from you know, the Albany area in New York.
Yeah, so Parker's actually he went to school at Fordham, and he's
that's
from
right. Yeah, he's from the Northeast. That's right.
Yeah, he's from Connecticut, so he's he's got ties to back here, which made it a little bit easier. But yeah, it still is very interesting. Like he's been living out in LA for a while now, so
Yeah.
definitely.
So what does the training look like in the off season for you? You're mentioning the off season a little bit. Do you like going out to Cali and being in that warm weather and still being able to train outside all the time? Does have the Braves given you a lot of off season workouts and development stuff to do, or is it kind of find a place you like to train and go make sure you're better by the next season?
It was, yeah, more of the latter, kind of finding your own place. But in terms of lifting and like a yoga routine, and mobility, they gave that all to me. And that was like 4 days a week lifting, one mobility / yoga. And then I kind of ticked it up to 2 yoga days as the off season went on. But yeah, mostly off season. I mean, Nico can even attest because I was around Nico a good majority of my off season in Albany, and it's just basically kind of finding your own things you want to do, which can make it tough, kind of doing it all on your own. But I think they did a good job the previous year when they were open in Florida, kind of allowing guys to go there, stay there, and just train with them. But obviously last year with the hurricane and stuff, it kind of halted a lot of activities down there. So we're kind of on our own. Like even the guys that were rehabbing in Florida, they had to go up to Atlanta, so.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that you're constantly surrounded by, our kind of below average Division II program when you're training all the time. And then you have a guy like Tommy Canley, who, played on the Yankees and Dodgers, who also trains there. So it's like, and like I know that Sal Troy, which is that a facility that we train at. But do you find that you're really comfortable there because you're kind of back home, or maybe is it harder to focus because you got your boys like Price and Ward there, and you might want to chop it up, but you also got to focus on training and because like there's a lot going on there while you're trying to get your work in.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. There's days where it can be too social. Sometimes I even tell Kev this a lot. I like going sometimes when there's nobody there because it's just like
I don't blame you.
You throw on your own music, do your own thing. But at the same time, when nobody's there, it's a lot harder. Like I gotta find somebody to put balls in the machine, to flip balls to me, whether it's catching or hitting, somebody to throw with. Like a lot. That's the tough part about baseball training too, is a lot of times you need people there with you.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously you guys know that too. It's
pitchers, you can't really throw bullpens unless you got a catcher. I mean, you can throw into a net, but like you're never throwing the same ball. Right. Me and Mark have had our fair share of days he's caught my bullpens. He basically caught all my rehab bullpens over COVID. So Mark, I know I've thanked you for that, but here's another thank you for that. Because without a catcher, pitchers are nothing. Without a pitcher, catchers on the defensive side aren't anything. So it's a cool relationship. Gonna get you all teary-eyed over there. But what you did mention before, the language barrier, and then that's something like as a pitcher-catcher relationship, have you had that barrier where your pitcher only speaks a different language that's not English, or even any other players where you can't really build as much of a relationship because you guys don't have the same first language? So how is that like relationship building in that space?
It was harder in the beginning when I didn't really know any Spanish, but I'm closer with a lot of the Latin guys, so I've learned quite a bit of Spanish just from them, and then they learn English because they have to. Like they take English classes every week, 2 to 3 times a week, so they're learning English. I kind of learn Spanish from them, so I almost speak a little bit of Spanglish, like we speak Spanglish back and forth to each other and kind of get to a point that way. But I mean, they're good about it too. Like if they don't understand, they'll tell you they don't understand, especially when it comes to, pitcher and catcher meetings. But I always I want my pitchers to feel comfortable. So like, I don't want them to try and, fight out English. Like I'm going to try and fight out Spanish before it makes them speak, me speak Spanish before they got to speak English. It's kind of the way I like to do it.
Like
Do you
that.
see that kind of builds that trust between you and them? Because I mean, I'm sure, like, obviously, like, they're playing in the States, so like there's gonna be more people speaking English than Spanish. But like I could see if it was like, they have to take certain classes, but you guys don't have to, and it's like, a guy like you who's a catcher, like, do they see it? All right, like this guy, like I can work with, or maybe like, will the coaches kind of like almost like respect that more if like the guys that take on that challenge of learning the language, like compared to the other guys. Your position, you kind of have to more than others, but like I would imagine like from a coach standpoint, like that would stand out to me from one player to another.
Yeah, I don't know in terms of like how it appears to the coaches and the coordinators, but I know just from like a personal experience, like I always like it when the guys are like actively, they're working hard and trying to learn English because like I see it as them, trying to make everybody's life easier. Like the quicker they learn English, they make their lives easier as well as ours, just in terms of communication. So I would assume they feel the same way. I've never really asked. But I know some of the guys, like they've, said my Spanish is okay. And some of them, the same thing, like their English is decent. But I think some of them, sometimes they don't care to learn English, and others of them really do try, like actively try. But I can only speak from my personal opinion. Like I appreciate it when those guys are like working hard trying to learn English. And I know it's not an easy language to learn. So I know sometimes it may make more sense for us to learn Spanish to communicate with them. And plus I think it's cool to be bilingual.
Yeah, definitely. This team in Tampa is one of the most diverse teams I've ever played on, and I'm starting to try to learn some Spanish, but my brain sometimes just can't process another language. Like I really try, and like whenever they speak in Spanish, I'm like, all right, what were you guys talking about? But then I just can't remember the words, and they try to teach me, and then you go and get ready to pitch, and you completely forgot what Spanish they were just teaching you.
It's
So
also they speak so fast too, and I know they say the same about us, but it's like they speak so fast. It's maybe can catch 2 or 3 words.
yeah, chupi mi pinga is something I've learned, which means like eat my dick or something like that. That's something they always say to each other.
That's the first one everybody always learns.
Because they're always saying it.
Paul, say that again. How do you say it?
It's like chupi mi pinga.
Chupa.
Eat my chupa mi pinga. I don't know. I still don't even know. I just know pinga is like every type of curse word you want it to be, basically, is how they describe it. So it's kind of funny to hear that. And especially on bus rides, that's something I wanted to ask you about, is like the travel and minor league organizations. How are the bus trips? Like, are people throwing in headphones and kind of, doing their own thing, or are you guys all talking, like going to games or long road trips? Are you a road trip guy? I've always never minded the bus trips, just because you get to, have 3 hours to yourself, and you can do whatever you want in those 3 hours. You're going to be on that bus. So how do you feel on road trips? What do you like to do?
I don't mind the road trips, to be honest with you. And like obviously in this lifestyle, like if you don't like road trips, you're going to be in for a long career. But like yesterday was a long one, and we had a rain delay and a 2:00 start. So it's like we didn't get home till probably 1:30, 2:00. It was like a 7-hour trip. But so like ones like that are tougher, but I'm a headphones in unless we're like playing cards or we play Mafia a little bit. So play that cut down the trip about midway and then get some music. A lot of guys sleep. Some guys will throw it, but so we have one bus that's quiet and one bus that's loud, and the loud bus is like karaoke,
That's exactly what Simon said, Paul.
Yeah, we just had a guy in the
Yeah, this guy with the Giants organization, he said the same thing. He goes, there's one bus, for one thing, and then the other bus for the other. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
that is cool. I didn't know that was so common. Maybe that is for most organizations.
Yeah, I think most places it is the same. Like, kind of one bus that's louder, more. I don't want to say a party bus, but it's closer to a party bus, and then one's more like if you want to sleep and relax, you're on that bus. They throw in some headphones and just chill out.
Very cool.
When you're
Very
playing
cool.
Moff, when you're playing Moff, are you more comfortable as like a townie or a cop? Like where do you shine playing Mafia?
There's nothing better than being a dirty cop, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm more comfortable being Moff.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't
We
like
had some
I don't like
funny
just-
Moff games.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. I was just saying some funny Moff games throughout our career.
Yeah, same. I just don't like being taken out as a regular townie, you know. So
When you're being serious, you're trying to tell everyone, "Hey, I'm just a townie. Like, will you
Yeah.
keep me in? Let me help out." And
nobody ever believes you.
no one believes you when you come out and say,
Yeah.
"I'm a townie." There's got to be some other way to communicate to everyone that you're just a
I know.
real townie. But no, this has been great. This whole interview has been a lot of fun. We know you got a bunch to do today, and you said you got in late last night. So we really appreciate you taking the time and coming on. How we kind of finish up every episode is we get a little scratch off going for our interviewees. Your winning numbers right here are 17-4. So I'm going to scratch this off. Hopefully we can get you a winner, help you maybe pay for some snacks on the road or something like that. So usually at this time, if you have any questions for us, or if Mark or Nico have any more questions before we wrap up, I'm going to start scratching this off.
Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, one question for you guys. What is the next step with you guys? And maybe you guys don't want to speak on a podcast, but like the next step for you guys moving forward.
No, we definitely do.
Or
Nico, you want to take it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different avenues. I think that the first thing that we need to do right now, we need to find a way to generate, some more money into the business and have some money like coming in like every week or every month, just so that way we can provide our athletes with like a little bit more, actually act as like an actual like sports marketing company who works with athletes and can send out some things. So kind of once we get there, then we can kind of start to get like more legitimate, like if we wanted to go get certified, then then we could pay for that through the company. We could travel, we could pay for that through the company and not have to worry about like like working other jobs and like allocating different funds. So I think kind of getting our feet wet financially is definitely the next big step, because we have decent experience with like working with athletes and reaching out to brands. Like we're not at we're not at that level where we could get like whatever we want at this point, but I would say we've definitely like established ourselves there more than other areas right now.
Yeah, a lot of cool experience with reaching out to brands for athletes, just being there for our athletes, talking to them on and off the field, like kind of just always being there for them and also trying to get them deals along the way that they really appreciate. Getting some free bats to some of our college guys, some wood bats, some batting gloves, just things to help them out while this NIL stuff is also new to people. And it's really like a cool space for us to get our feet wet and really start to grind and make relationships with brands and athletes.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So I'm sorry to show you this complete dud of a scratch off.
That's fine. Yeah, listen, I'd rather have bad luck on that and good luck on the field. I'll keep it.
Okay.
Great off.
You know what? Honestly, if that was the one card that we won and we sucked out all your luck and like mojo you had going, it would have been totally worthless. So perfect.
I wouldn't put that on you guys. That'd be something in my preparation.
So it looks like you're batting like 750 over the next couple weeks now that you didn't win this lottery ticket. So thanks again for coming on, Adam. This has been great. This is going to release next Monday. I don't even know, May 8th, I think that would be. So really appreciate you taking the time. We'll get it posted, get a bunch of reels throughout the week, post on Instagram. Whatever you feel comfortable reposting, we would appreciate, help you get your stories out there. A lot of cool stories you had to share with us today. So hopefully we can get you back on again in the future as you keep moving your way up the ranks.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time and having me on. It's great.
Yeah, really cool. Really
good luck this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck this week and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. You guys too. Take care.